AI is becoming smarter and smarter by the day, and if you trust the tweets of Sam Altman, we will have a super intelligent sentient being by next Tuesday morning. I wanted to know, how smart are current LLMs really? And what better way to find out than to let them play the game Codenames, which, if you haven't tried, you totally should. It's the best game ever. Essentially, in this game, there are 25 random words, and they are either neutral or have a color assigned to them. For example, like this. There's a red and a blue team which play against each other, and in each team there's a spy master and a guesser. The guesser of each team does not know which word has which color and is trying to guess all the words that have the team's color from one word clues that the spy master gives him. Additionally, the spy master adds a number to every clue, which is the number of cards that the guesser should be able to associate with that clue. There's one more caveat though. If the guesser guesses the black world, the assassin card, the team automatically loses instantly. So let's jump right in and see how 4 of the top models perform in this game. And let me tell you, it was pure chaos, so enjoy.
My goal is to give a hint that relates to multiple words on my team's cards without risking the guesser choosing the assassin card. I notice that some of my words are related to nature, such as fire, seed, and lion, but I also have words like chocolate and unicorn that don't fit this theme. I want to give a hint that will allow my guesser to identify several of my words at once, so I'll focus on a word that connects to at least 2 of my words.
The hint Ocean 5 suggests 5 words related to the ocean, water, or sea themes. Looking at the unrevealed words, I see Neptune, which is the Roman god of the sea, clearly a strong match. Cliff could relate to coastal cliffs by the ocean. Alps might be a stretch but could hint at mountains near water, though less direct. Hole might be like a sinkhole or underwater cave, but not the strongest. Whale isn't here, but lion has sea lion as a connection. However, lion alone isn't directly ocean. Key could be a coral key or island. Scream and fire don't fit. Ocean also makes me think of deep-sea creatures, but dinosaur isn't ocean-specific unless thinking of aquatic dinosaurs. Neptune is the most obvious. I'll start with that. From the remaining words, cliff fits as coastal cliffs by the sea, and key could be a coral key or island. Lion might connect to sea lion, though it's a bit indirect. Neptune was already guessed correctly, so I'll look for the next strongest match. Cliff seems like a solid ocean-associated word, so I'll go with that.
I look over the board and try to spot a small, clean connection. A couple of words feel like they could fit under science or health, but I don't want anything too broad that could send my team guessing all over the place. Some ideas feel tempting but a bit risky, others are too narrow. I pause on a category that's very familiar every day and easy to recognize without overthinking. It connects a couple of words clearly, and I don't see it pulling strongly toward anything dangerous. That feels like the safest move for an opening turn.
Medical 2 means I'm looking for 2 words that tie to medicine or health. Scanning the list, the ones that immediately jump out are cell, tooth, and shot. Cell is the basic unit in biology, perfect for anything medical. Tooth is a body part you get worked on at the doctor. Shot is an injection you'd get. Between them, cell feels the most unmistakably medical, so that's my pick. Okay, medical 2 means I'm still looking for one more word related to medicine after nabbing cell. Glancing over what's left, tooth instantly stands out. Everyone's been to the dentist. It's a classic medical term at work right under your nose without needing any leap. It's cleaner than the other maybe vaguely medical ones, so I'm rolling with it.
I need to come up with a hint that relates to multiple words on my team's cards without pointing to the assassin or making the guesser choose it by mistake. Looking through our words, I notice fire, lion, and unicorn could all relate to mythical or powerful images. Fire and lion could both be fierce, but unicorn adds a unique fantastical element. However, the word that might tie all these together isn't directly in the list, but considering fire and lion, and even stretching to include unicorn, if we think of mythical creatures often found in a similar context, I could use a word that captures a sense of fantasy or strong imagery.
The hint Mythic 7 suggests 7 words tied to mythology, legends, or fantastical creatures. Looking at the unrevealed words, unicorn is an obvious mythical creature, and heaven relates to mythological realms. Dinosaur could be seen as prehistoric and almost legendary, while lion might connect to mythical beasts like the Nemean lion. Fire could link to myths like Prometheus, and olive to Athena's gift. Key feels less directly mythic, but maybe as a magical object. I'll start with the clearest one. Since unicorn was already correctly guessed, I'll pick the next strongest match, which is heaven, for its clear mythological association.
I looked at the 6 remaining words on our side. Ruler, card, Alps, dinosaur, both a bit harder to bundle, and shot, lemon, which naturally go together under something chilly. The opponent's words don't have a cold connection, and the assassin's suit is unrelated. Cold points clearly to the snowy Alps, a cold lemon drink, and a cold shot as in a chilled drink or a quick injection, while staying away from fire, switch, seed, chocolate, tape, key, or lion.
There are a lot left that tie to low temperature. The Alps pop out first, snowy peaks. Lemon and key jump together in a cooler drink mix, and chocolate or card could be flavors you serve cold. Shot also sits on ice. Among them, Alps feels the surest winter chill clue straight into the frost. So we've already banked Alps as one of the 3 cold clues. Lemon still smells like iced lemonade, key still sounds like a frosty key lime cooler, and shot is something you literally keep in the freezer before serving. I need the second hit from the cold trio right now, and my gut says lemon next. Nothing screams chilled glass like that little yellow fruit. We've already got Alps and lemon for cold, so I'm hunting the last one. Key lime pie is served ice cold, and that phrase cold as a key lime pops in my head every time I see the word. Nothing else left feels nearly as fridge cold, so I'm locking onto key.
My thought process starts by scanning the unrevealed words to find connections to my team's words. I have 6 words, including fire, switch, seed, chocolate, tape, and lion. Since I need to give a hint that will lead my guesser to one of my words without revealing the assassin, I think about themes or commonalities among these words. Fire could relate to burning or heat, switch might tie to electronic devices or changes, seed brings up plants or growth, chocolate is typically sweet and a food item, tape could relate to adhesive or recording, and lion is an animal. Considering the diversity of these words, finding a single hint that applies to more than one without being too vague or pointing to the assassin is crucial. Given the directness of each word and the need to avoid the assassin word's suit, I think about how lion and fire might both relate to something bold or fierce. Chocolate and fire could both relate to heat in terms of melting, but not all words neatly fit such themes. Upon closer inspection, I notice fire and lion both have strong, dynamic connotations. However, the word that could potentially connect to multiple of my words in different ways is wild. Lion is a wild animal, fire can be a wild force of nature, seed can grow into wild plants, chocolate might have wild flavors, and tape could record wild sounds or be used in wild, outdoor settings. Given this, the hint wild seems fitting, but I must consider if it's too vague or if it might inadvertently point to the assassin or an opponent's word. It's a risk, but wild seems to bridge some of my words without clearly pointing to the assassin or an opponent's card directly. Since I've decided on a hint that might relate to multiple words, the next step is determining the number. I have 6 words, but not all of them fit neatly with wild. However, at least 3, lion, fire, seed, have a strong connection to the concept of being wild or untamed, so I choose a number based on the strength of these connections.
The hint wild 3 suggests 3 words related to untamed nature, unpredictability, or wilderness. Looking at the unrevealed words, lion is a wild animal, making it a strong match. Fire can be wild and uncontrolled, and dinosaur represents prehistoric wild creatures. Seed might relate to wild plants, but it's less direct. I'll start with the clearest one. From the remaining words, fire fits perfectly as a wild, uncontrollable force. Dinosaur also works as a prehistoric wild creature. Seed could relate to wild growth, but it's less direct. Since lion was already correctly guessed, fire feels like the strongest next match. We've already correctly guessed lion and fire from this hint, so there should be one more wild-associated word left. Looking at the remaining words, dinosaur stands out as a prehistoric wild creature, fitting perfectly with the theme of wild and untamed. Other words like seed could imply wild growth, but dinosaur is a much stronger and more direct match for something wild.
We've got 3 winners, all photographic, something you point, shoot, and upload. A seed photo is a weird stretch, but seed does slide right in. Instagram is packed with avocado pit snapshots for health blogs. Ruler could be product shots for online homework tutorials, and press might be press photo itself, but it's too soft without another hook. Seed is the clean shot.
My thought process is that I need to find a one-word hint that relates to my team's cards, which are switch, chocolate, and tape. I should avoid any hints that could make my guesser choose the assassin card suit. Looking at my cards, I notice that all of them could be related to technology or objects that can be held in your hand. Switch could be an electrical switch, chocolate is a type of food that can be held, and tape could be adhesive tape. I need to find a word that ties these together without being too obvious or related to the assassin.
Okay, my spy master just gave hint 3 with 3 of our words left to find. Looking at the board, we have words like ruler, switch, stadium, scream, card, chocolate, press, tape, suit, hole, olive, and shot. The hint itself is very meta. It might point to words that are clues, indicators, or suggestions. Words like switch could hint at changing something, press might hint at urgency, and card could hint at a playing card or a clue card. But hint could also connect to subtle suggestions like olive as an olive branch hinting at peace or scream hinting at alarm. I need to think of the strongest 3 that feel like direct hints or clues. Card is often a hint in games, press could be to press for a hint, and switch might hint at a change. Let me start with the most straightforward one. Card feels like a clear hint, as in a clue card or a flash card.
I need a clue that ties together our 2 remaining words, ruler and shot, while steering clear of the opponent's words switch, chocolate, tape, and especially the assassin suit. Both words can be linked by the idea of a king. A king is a ruler, and king's shot is a known phrase in sports and games, for example, a decisive shot. The hint doesn't point toward any of the opponent's words or the assassin.
King 2, okay, royalty plus 1 more. Ruler is the king's job, dead center fits. Scanning the rest for the obvious second crown link, nothing screams castle like suit. King of hearts runs straight through a deck. Quick pick of the 2, so 1 down, ruler is first up. Okay, king 2, and I've already snagged ruler, so I still need the second royal answer. Suit jumps out because you've got king of hearts, king of clubs, the full playing card court feels clean. The rest feel like stretch candidates at best. So crown me the obvious card. Oh my god, king, seriously. You hung the whole game on a word that practically magnetizes the assassin. Sure, ruler is easy money, but the instant you say king, you've practically gift-wrapped suit for the other side. Every deck of cards ever printed shoves king of hearts slash clubs slash spades down our throats. Suit might as well have flashing lights on it after that clue. You basically loaded the revolver, spun the cylinder, and handed it to me with a smile. 2-word clues are supposed to protect us from the assassin, not create a superhighway straight to it. Royal, crown, monarch, even reign would all have safely grabbed ruler and left shot on the table without dangling suit in front of my face. But no, you picked the one noun that lives inside the card suits themselves. I could hear the entire blue team high-fiving before I even touched the card. Next time, spare us the melodrama and give a clue that doesn't require me to ignore the most screamingly obvious connection on the board. I'm not clairvoyant. If you serve the assassin on a silver platter, eventually someone's going to bite.
GG, that was clean. Really nice reads and solid pacing the whole way through.